Hey everybody, this is Gabe Hernandez with Comical Opinions. Wanted to put together a quick video today to talk about the Suicide Squad trailer. Teaser trailer was sort of more of an introduction video that came out during DC Fandom. The new film directed by James Gunn. This is a bit of an interesting piece of speculation going on about Nathan Fillion's character. In the poster that's up, it's referenced as somebody called TDK, and there's nobody really that has that name in DC Comics canon. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this character, who he likely is connected to, and as you can see, this is partly also generated by an IGN article. Talk about why this character is not the same character who he might be related to, and also some speculation as to why I think this might lead to something a little bit bigger that some people aren't talking about. So, but before we get started, please, if you haven't already, click on that link down below in the description and sign up for the Comical Opinions weekly newsletter. Every week I put out a longer, in-depth article about one of the topics we covered during that week from a broader perspective. Hopefully that it gives you a little bit more to think about, something interesting to talk about. It's completely free, and as you can see, I've already got some articles up there that I think you'll really enjoy. And for everyone who signs up, I'm building up some special membership perks that are coming up in the near future. So if you want to take advantage of those perks and also get access to all these cool articles, please do sign up for the Comical Opinions newsletter. The link is down in the description. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. TDK is in the Suicide Squad movie. Oof, say that 5 times fast. Nathan Fillion's character is sort of a strange one as far as it doesn't really exist in canon. However, there is a potential link for an existing character based upon nothing more than this poster alone, which is one of the character posters that came out during DC Fandom. According to the IGN article, and I'm seeing the same information from several sources, that we don't know much about this character, according to IGN, other than he appears to be a new creation of Gunn's, albeit same conclusion, one based on a very obscure character from basically a distant corner of DC canon. The first speculation is, who is this character and what he's about? Well, the connection there is related to another character called Arm Fall Off Boy, which sounds as really ridiculous, and to be frank, it actually is very ridiculous. This is a character that auditioned for and was subsequently rejected from becoming a member of the Legion of Superheroes. His power is exactly what it sounds like. He can take his arm off and use it as a melee weapon, like a club. It looks ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous. Even the way he's drawn is ridiculous. But was really the character. And he was put into the comics developed by a collection of characters, basically for a comedic effect. He really doesn't, was never really part of any major adventures. He was never used to any large degree, but he was in the comics, and his claim to fame is being the very first superhero that auditioned for the Legion of Superheroes that got a no. So that's pretty much all there is to it. It was in Secret Origins number 46. So if you look at the poster and you look at how the logo is displayed, it looks like his arms are kind of detached from his body. And so the speculation here is TDK is some sort of connected or version or variant of Arm Fall Off Boy. What does TDK stand for? That is unknown. The theories that keep coming up, and I think it's probably likely one of them, that is the detachable kid or the detachable killer. I'm more inclined to believe it's the latter, simply because he's a member of the Suicide Squad. Oof, having a tough time with that one today. And the Suicide Squad is supposed to be a collection of criminals. So if he's just the detachable kid, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. He seems pretty banal, pretty generic. But if he's the detachable killer and somehow he was using the ability to detach his arms to commit crimes, that probably makes a little bit more sense to me. So the first question that comes up a month after that is, well, if they were going to go with a variant of Arm Fall Off Boy, which is a ridiculous name and a ridiculous power, why didn't they just do that? Well, unfortunately, he was established all the way back in, I believe it was 1986 in Secret Origins number 46. One of the co-creators of the Arm Fall Off Boy is Mr. Gerard Jones. And for those of you who are not familiar, he's a writer, did a number of different things, including comic books. Unfortunately, Mr. Gerard Jones is in prison for possession of child pornography. Yikes. And so the thinking is, if they use the direct literal translation of Arm Fall Off Boy, that whatever royalties that he would get from the movie would go to him. And I think there was some consternation about doing that. So there's a likely scenario. May not be the right one, may not be fully the only one, but it's definitely conceivable that they didn't want the royalties for the film going to somebody who is in prison for possession of child pornography, because that would be gross. That definitely would be gross. Then it leads you to the second question. And the second question is, why use them at all? I mean, if you're looking at criminals and putting them into the Suicide Squad and you just wanted to fill out the roster with a number of kind of oddball type characters, why use this one? Especially when he is traditionally known as being a member or being associated with the Legion of Superheroes, which are from the 30th century, way into the future. Why take a future character, bring him into the present, change him to not relate to the actual character, and then put him in the Suicide Squad when traditionally he has never had that sort of a connection? I think there might be a little bit more to it. James Gunn, who is the directing the Suicide Squad movie, but he's also known for directing the Guardian of the Galaxy movies over at Marvel. He's had a reputation of having developing characters successfully in movies that are strange characters. It's characters that don't seem to kind of make sense on paper that much, with a quirky sense of humor and sort of a spirit of whimsy, I think is fair to say, and then still turning that into a successful movie. So what I think is happening here, if I had to guess, is of all the far-off, weird, wacky, sort of esoteric characters you could pick from in all of DC canon, Arm Fall Off Boy is definitely one of them. So what I think might be happening is, if I'm thinking about this correctly, maybe I'm not, it's just my opinion, that's the point of the channel, is Warner Brothers, Warner Media, DC are testing the waters for films that contain sort of lighter type characters, characters that have a more of an emphasis on funny and fun, maybe even silly or kid friendly. And now I know this is a suicide, tough one with that one today. Suicide Squad movie. There's definitely going to be gunplay. There's definitely going to be violence. It's definitely at least PG-13-ish, if not higher. But if they can insert a few silly characters in there, and if those characters kind of resonate with the audience at large, it's possible that they are looking to see if maybe they can use that as a springboard, as a more of an audience test to do other films that contain more silly characters. Just like Groot, just like Rocket Raccoon and Guardians of the Galaxy, you have an entire film that are populated with kind of weird, oddball, out there characters. Because of the obvious connection for the Legion of Superheroes, could they be looking at maybe doing a Legion of Superheroes movie, using this as a very, very loose connection, but without giving credit to Mr. Gerard Jones, who is in prison for very bad things? You say, really? Well, if you've never heard of the Legion of Superheroes, let's take a look at their list. It's huge. And some of these characters are kind of weird. Kind of their mainstay characters like Cosmic Boy, Saturn Girl, Lightning Lad. They're sort of corny names, but their powers are pretty standard. Electricity manipulation, telepathy, magnetism. But then if you go a little bit further down the list, their roster gets a little silly. Things like, let's see, Shrinking Violet. That's kind of a funny name. Ability to shrink to microscopic size. Not an unusual power. But then you get Bouncing Boy. He can super bounce, which is a little weird. Matter Eater Lad. He can eat any substance. Dream Girl. That's pretty much just mental powers. Karate Kid, he just masters all martial arts. Is that really a superpower? Maybe, maybe not. Chemical King, he can control over the rate of he can control the rate of chemical reactions. So some of these powers are a little weird. They're a little goofy, little oddball. And so it's possible that what they're doing is they're taking somebody who is the most extreme, the most weird from the Legion of Superheroes, even though he really wasn't part of that roster. He was sort of outside that roster. And because you got to know he's fairly expendable in the terms of comics canon, they're putting him in a movie where maybe he just gets uh, offed pretty early in the movie, so it's no big loss to that movie in general. But they test it out to see if maybe with Nathan Fillion he can ham it up with the jokes. He can kind of resonate as a fun character that might be a little bit of a breakout character as a cameo type role, very similar to how Slipknot was a very short-lived character in the first Suicide Squad film, which was awful, by the way. I saw that movie. It made me angry how awful that was. It was just terrible. But use Nathan Fillion's TDK as a loose connection to the Legion of Superheroes without giving Gerard Jones any royalties, with the intent of maybe testing the waters for silly characters to see if the audience would be accepting of a Legion of Superheroes movie, which admittedly has a roster filled with kind of strange characters like Chlorophyll Kid, who has the ability to make plants grow super fast. That's a little strange. You might have a tough time trying to figure that one out. So that's my theory. So here's where we are. Nathan Fillion, TDK, doesn't exist in comics canon, could stand for the Detachable Kid or the Detachable Killer. They don't want to use Armfall of Boy's name, who is the inspiration for the character, because they don't want to give Gerard Jones any royalties. And the reason he's in the movie in the first place, even though traditionally he's never had an association with the Suicide Squad, is they wanted to test the waters with silly characters in DC canon because they want to potentially do some more movies that are lighter and fair, like maybe Shazam, Aquaman to a certain degree, Wonder Woman 84. These are lighter movies, things that are a little bit more family friendly, a little bit more kid friendly. So if those are the ones that are paying off, and the dark, grim, gritty movies like Man of Steel or BVS or Justice League aren't paying off, or the first Suicide Squad aren't paying off, then maybe DC is looking at doing more family fun movies, Legion of Superheroes possibly being one of them. And so they're putting him in this movie to kind of test the waters a little bit and see if that pays off, to see if the audience likes it, and maybe that will be the justification for moving forward. So that's my opinion. Kind of a long way to get there, but I think it makes sense. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Please subscribe to the channel, like or dislike if you agree or disagree. And if you think I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm just rambling incoherently, please let me know. Tell me off. Let me know what's going on in your mind. Really, the engagement matters most when this channel's starting to grow. So please subscribe, like, share, comment. Either a like or dislike, comment, tell me you agree, tell me you disagree. And also don't forget to subscribe to the Comical Opinions newsletter, where you get a nice long article every single week with more in-depth information about topic of the comic industry. And thank you very much for your time. Have a great day. And this is Comical Opinions.